Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is able to see my screen. Can anyone please confirm? Okay, thank you. So yesterday we have discussed about why we need a BPC and how it is going to be useful for an organization, and we have discussed a typical planning process, and then we have discussed BPC 10.1 NetViewer technical architecture, standard model, and embedded model. And we have discussed 11.0 also. And then we have discussed this planning terminology: forecasting, planning, budgeting, strategic planning, rolling forecast with a simple examples. Okay, so today we'll be discussing BPC core components. So once, like, if you are talking about a BPC project implementation, so the phases will be: first we'll be doing requirement gathering. So first we'll be having workshops with the business, and in the workshops we'll be gathering all the requirements from the business, like how exactly they are doing planning, everything. So what are all the things they are considering, everything will be gathering, and we'll be preparing a one business blueprint. Okay, so we'll be preparing business blueprint. The first step is requirement gathering, and in the second step we'll be preparing business blueprint. So in as part of a business blueprint we'll be mentioning, okay, how exactly it is happening now, right? Before BPC implementation, how organization is doing their planning. Maybe they might be using some other software or Microsoft Excels or spreadsheets, anything. Okay, so in business blueprint we'll be mentioning all these details, how exactly it is happening as it is. And to be also will be maintaining to be means after BPC implementation how it will be. Okay, so because one business comes to us for a BPC implementation when they have any issues or challenges in their process of planning, right? So in business blueprint we'll be mentioning all these things as is, how it is happening today, and what are all the challenges, how we are going to overcome those challenges with the help of a BPC. So the second stage includes business blueprint preparation. In that business blueprint preparation we'll be maintaining all these things as is, to be, and challenges. Okay, so once that second phase is over, design phase starts. That is the next step. So requirement gathering, and then business blueprint, and then design phase. So in the design phase we'll get a clarity like how many models do we make. So this we are going to discuss now. Don't get confused what is a model and all. Okay, so in design phase we are going to decide how many dimensions, models, and all we need to fulfill the business requirement. Okay, so the third step starts from technical configuration things. So today we are going to start that technical things, BPC technical things. Okay, so as part of a project implementation, these five elements, as you can see on my screen, these are the five elements are very important thing. So based on the configuration of these five elements only, it, like, if we can configure these five elements in a proper way, it leads to a successful implementation of a BPC project. So these are very important, and as part of project implementation we are going to start with these five elements only. Okay, so our training also will be just like how in real-time project implementation, what is the first phase, and what are all the next elements we'll be working on. So in the same way I'm going to teach you. Okay, so this is a BPC terminology. Today we are going to discuss these five elements. The first one is environment, second one is a model, third one is a dimension, fourth one is a property, fifth one is a member. Okay, so Let's discuss the BPC, environment. What is environment? What is a environment? Now you can see on my screen, right? I mentioned something. So as part of a project implementation, as part of a BPC project implementation, the first component which we are going to create is an environment. Okay, so environment, I can say it is an area. Okay, it is an area where all other objects, all entire BPC solution will be inside this environment. Okay, all other objects will be creating inside this environment. Okay, so in BW point of view, we call it as an info area. So environment is nothing but area where we are going to create all our BPC objects inside that. Okay, I can say it is a boundary. Okay, environment is a boundary for our BPC solution. Everything will be inside the environment. There is no proper definition, technical definition for environment. Okay, there is no any proper technical definition, but you can say it is an area in which we are going to create all our BPC objects. Okay, it is a starting point of a BPC solution design. Okay, it is a starting point of a BPC solution design. So as part of a project, first we are going to create environment. Okay, and the second thing is we are not going to create a new environment. We are going to create environment by copying the existing environment. So once the business install the BPC software, SAP delivers the standard environment called environment shell. SAP delivers standard environment called environment shell. Okay, so we need to copy that environment shell and create a new environment for our business requirement. Okay, and one more thing is, 99% of scenarios, one environment is more than enough. Okay, we'll go with only single environment because inside that environment we can have n number of models. So you'll be understand. So when I am saying n number of models, why we may need multiple models but we need only one environment, you'll get a clarity in some time. Okay, so SAP delivers standard environment called environment shell. By copying that environment shell, we'll be creating new environment. Let's say Amazon is the client. Amazon is the client, so we'll be creating environment as a Amazon. Okay, we'll copy this standard environment shell and we create a new environment with a client name. That naming convention will be provided by the business. Okay, so this is about environment and we copy the environment shell with a client name. This is done and we are not supposed to make any changes to environment shell because it is a standard component delivered by SAP. Environment shell is a standard component, right? So we are not supposed to make any changes because in future let's say we created one environment called Amazon and after some time business said we don't need this kind of solution. We want to change the entire thing. We want to change the entire solution. We want to change entire planning scenario. Then we may need to create a new environment. So that existing environment may not be useful for the business requirements, new requirements. In that case, we need to have some standard component, right, to copy again. So that's why we are not supposed to make any changes in the standard environment shell. We just need to copy it, and in the copied environment we need to make changes, customize. We can customize. Only the purpose why we are not supposed to make changes to environment shell is in future if we may require, if we need anything new, then we can copy environment shell again, we can customize it as per the business requirement. Okay, that is all about environment. Environment is a kind of area where all our BPC objects will be created and we are not supposed to make any changes to the standard delivered environment shell. By copying the environment shell, we'll be creating new environment for our business requirements. Okay, that is about environment, and environment is the first component which we are going to create as part of BPC implementation project. And the next one is a dimension. So dimension represents a business unit. Dimension represents a business unit that involves in the process of planning and consolidation. So what is a business unit? Let's say cost center is a business unit, profit center is a business unit, and there are so many other things like you can see here example cost center, profit center, entity, department, accounts, time, customer. Let's say I am doing revenue planning, and this revenue planning, so how business will be generating revenue by selling their products. So product is a one business unit, so which contains products which are like what organization is manufacturing. Okay, let's say if it is a Samsung, so product is a one business unit which involves in the process of planning, because under product Samsung will have mobiles, tabs, laptops. Under mobiles, Galaxy and Notes, something like, right? Under Galaxy, Samsung Galaxy mobile models. Okay, so they will be doing planning based on their products or product group level, or maybe at mobiles level, tabs level, laptops level, or some other whatever they are manufacturing, right? So dimension represents a business unit which involves in the process of planning, budgeting, forecasting and consolidation. Okay, so for example cost center, profit center and all, but going forward, so why I am using this cost center, profit center, you will be able to understand. Okay, so as a BPC consultant, again I am saying it is not mandatory to know each and everything about the finance. Okay, just a technical idea is more than enough. By end of this training you will be able to understand very easily. Okay, and dimensions are at environment level. So if I have one dimension that can be used by multiple models, you'll be able to understand once we discuss model. Okay, and one dimension can be used by multiple models, yes, correct. And this dimensions holds master data. Dimensions hold master data. So we'll be having two kind of data. One is a master data, second one is a transactional data. Okay, master data and transactional data. So dimensions hold master data. Okay, so dimension represents a business unit. And the next thing is member. So member is a unique ID which represents an element of a business unit. Which represents an element of a business unit. Let's consider again a product dimension. Under product, some like let's say Amazon. Amazon have so many products on their app. Let's say under electronics, they have a mobiles. Under mobiles, they have each brand. Under each brand, they will be having their model names. Let's say Samsung Galaxy, or J7, J8, or recently they come up with some models, M series models like that, right? So each element will be treated as a member. Each element will be treated as a member. So it is a unique ID which represents an element of a business unit. Or let's consider another example, customer. Customer dimension is there. It is a business unit, and let's say there is a customer called Mahindra, and the Mahindra will be treated as a member of that customer dimension, right? So the member of that business unit. So member is nothing but an element of a business unit. Okay, so and this member will be calling as a master data key. I said dimension holds master data and member is a master data key. I'll give you a simple example so that you'll be able to understand very easily. Okay, and the next thing is property. Okay, property gives additional information about the member. Property gives additional information about the member. Let's say Mahindra customer is there. Mahindra, what is Mahindra's mobile number? It is a property. It is giving additional information. What is a Mahindra's address? Address is again a property because it is giving additional information about a Mahindra customer. Okay, so where he stays, okay, and all. And if you consider a product dimension, let's say there is a laptop is a product. Okay, laptop, Lenovo IdeaPad something 310 model, and additional information will be screen size. What is the screen size is additional information that we call it as a property. And RAM, ROM, color, everything, right? What is the processor inside, whether it is Intel or AMD or something else. So these are all additional information about the members. Okay, properties gives additional information about the members, and these will be very useful while creating input forms and reports for analysis. Let's say if business want to see, okay, like these days how the trend, like most of the people are looking for what kind of a RAM size, whether they are looking for 8 GB RAM or 16 GB RAM. If they want to know, they can pull the reports based on the RAM size. Okay, so it will show, okay, based on, okay, 8 GB RAM laptops are generating this much revenue, irrespective of the brand. 8 GB RAM laptops are generating this much revenue, or 12 GB RAMs are generating this much revenue. Okay, so these properties will be very useful in analyzing the market trends, and while creating dynamic input forms also it will be very useful. We'll be discussing while creating input forms and reports. Okay, this is about property. So dimension, member, and property will be in a single table. Okay, dimension, member, and property. I said dimension holds master data and member is a master data key. Property is giving additional information about the member. Let's try to understand with a simple example. Okay, day 2. Okay, let me explain you with this country dimension. Okay, country dimension. So this is a country dimension. Okay, so this entire table will be called as a master data table. I said dimension holds master data, right? And this is a ID or member, ID or a member, and these are all the additional information about the IDs, right? So these are all will be called as a properties. Okay, the entire table will be called as a dimension or a master data table. Dimension or a master data table. So the first column is a unique ID. So we can call it as ID or member. This should be a unique. If you see here, let's say this is Canada. So this is ID. This is a description about ID and currency. So currency is additional information about Canada. So Canada currency is a Canadian dollar. And who is a planner for Canada? It is a username P_CA. Who is a reviewer? Who is a manager? R_CA. Okay, so these are all properties. These will be treated as a properties. And why? Because these are giving additional information about this IDs. ID is nothing but a member. Okay, so this is a dimension. It is entire table will be treated as a dimension table, and these are all the IDs or members, and these are all the properties. Okay, so this is a one business unit. Let's say if they are doing planning at country level, yes, we need country data, right? So these three, like dimension, inside dimension will be having member and properties. So this complete, these three, combination of these three will be treated as a dimension, and which holds master data. We call it as a master data. And coming to model. So model is a collection of different dimensions. Model is a combination of different dimensions to meet the planning requirements of a business. Let's say if you are planning expenses, we consider certain set of dimensions. If you are doing a revenue planning, we consider a different dimensions. If you are doing HR planning, you will be considering different dimensions. Okay, so model is nothing but a combination of different dimensions to meet the planning requirements. Okay, and let's discuss with a simple example here. So we have one environment called Amazon, and they are doing different planning. One is a sales planning, OPEX operational expenditure planning, CAPEX capital expenditure planning. Okay, let's assume these three are the requirements from the business. Okay, in the sales planning model, these are the dimensions we are considering. These are the dimensions: account, category, entity, time. So I'll explain you these dimension types. Okay, in tomorrow's session we'll be discussing these: what is account, dimension, category, entity, time. Okay, profit center, currency and all. Okay, sales planning. Whenever you're talking about a sales planning, it happens at profit center level. Whenever you're talking about expenses planning, operational expenditure planning, it happens at cost center level. So whenever you're talking about capex planning, it happens at project level. So why I'm saying this: profit center, cost center, project, going forward you will be able to understand. Okay, so in sales planning model we have these many dimensions. In OPEX planning model we have these many dimensions. In CAPEX we have these many dimensions. So when we come to know how many dimensions we may require, what are all the dimensions and what should be the dimension name. So after requirement gathering and business blueprint phase is over, in the design phase, we'll be analyzing the requirements of business and we'll be creating these objects in the system. Okay, so these are all the dimensions. See, if you see here, this is an environment Amazon, and account dimension is used in three models. Category also is used in three models. So that's why I mentioned here dimensions are at environment level. One dimension can be used by multiple models within the environment. Okay, if we have a multiple environments, that will not be the case anywhere. But if, let's say, in a rare scenario, business want to go with the multiple environments, then we cannot share dimensions between the environments. Okay, within the environment, a dimension can be part of multiple models. If you see here, category is a part of three models. It is allowed within the single environment. Dimensions are not shareable between different environments. Okay, so model holds transactional data. Model holds transactional data. So these are the five elements. Environment is the area where we are going to create all our objects, and model is a combination of different dimensions, and dimension represents a business unit which involves in the process of planning. And a properties which gives additional information about member, and member is a unique ID of a dimension. Okay, so this is a simple example of overview of these five elements: environment, models, dimensions. Okay, inside the dimension, let's consider a one dimension here. Dimension name is a product. Dimension name is a product. It is a business unit, and the product is mobile. Okay, product is a mobile. These are the properties. Who is the manufacturer, which is giving additional information about this member, right? So Sony is a manufacturer. What is the model name? SX40. What is the memory? 32 GB. What is the color? White. So these are all the properties which are giving additional information about the member mobile. Okay, this is a property name. This is a property values. Okay, member is a key. Member is the key. Properties are non-key. Okay, so that is about the BPC core components. Let's see the interconnection between the environment, I mean these BPC core components. If you see here, we have an environment, and inside the environment you can have multiple models. Inside the environment you can have multiple models, and you can have multiple dimensions, and a single dimension can be used by multiple models. Single dimension can be used by multiple models. If you see here, this dimension 1 is used by model 1 and model 2. In the same way, dimension 2 also is used by model 1 and model 2. Okay, so hope you were able to understand this core components: environment, model, dimension, property, member. So these three will be in a single table. We call it as a master data table. So property and member will be inside the dimension. Okay, so we have discussed with this country dimension example, right? So this is ID. We call it as a member. These are all the properties which are giving additional information about the members. So entire combination of a member and properties will be called as a dimension. Okay, so dimension holds master data, whereas model holds transactional data. So this is a model example. In the coming sessions we are going to discuss. I said model is a combination of a dimensions. So account dimension, category, cost center, country, time, okay, amount. This is a transactional data. So model holds transactional data, dimension holds master data. Okay, so here you can see another example for a dimension. Okay, let's consider time. Time is a dimension. So these are all the members. January, February, March are all the members. Okay, so we'll be discussing in the coming sessions with more details. Like, so we'll be spending at least 1 hour to understand the dimensions and types. There are 10 different type of dimensions delivered by SAP. Okay, 9 standard type dimensions, 1 user defined dimension. In the coming sessions we'll be discussing these dimension types. Okay, these are all the dimension types we'll be discussing in the coming session. Okay, and let's discuss this rules in BPC just for your like maybe in interviews also you may get some questions like, so environment is a base component and which does not hold any data physically, because it is a just area, boundary area. Within that we'll be creating all the info objects. So only dimensions stores master data, model stores transactional data. Environment does not store any data physically. Okay, environment does not store any data physically, and environment cannot be created. That is correct. We need to copy it from the environment shell. Okay, so environment cannot be created by our own. We need to copy the standard delivered environment by SAP called environment shell. So by copying that environment shell, we'll be creating a new environment. Okay, please remember that in interviews you may get this question. Environment shell, we will be copying this environment shell. Okay, we will not be creating environment from the scratch. So it is delivered by SAP and we'll be copying it. In tomorrow's session we'll be seeing how to create environment. Okay, I have prepared one job guide, one manual to understand with everything with a screenshot. In tomorrow's session we are going to discuss it. Okay, so environment in a standard BPC, we are going to copy the environment shell. Okay, and dimensions and models will be created at environment level. See, if you see here, so Amazon, and these models and dimensions will be at environment level, and dimensions will be used to store master data, models will be used to store transactional data. So if somebody is not able to understand what is a master data and transactional data, wait for 2 more sessions, you will get better clarity on what is a master data, what is a transactional data. Okay, and a dimension can be reused in multiple models. Okay, so I said right, so a single dimension can be part of multiple models but within the same environment. Let's say if we have Amazon 1 and Amazon 2 environments, you cannot use Amazon 1 environment dimensions in Amazon 2 environment. Okay, but so far I never come across a scenario where business would like to go with the two environments. We'll be creating one more environment for a training purpose. Once we are done with the solution configuration, we'll be creating another environment just for training purpose for end users. Okay, so dimensions can be used in multiple models, and so there are tomorrow we'll be discussing this. So to create a model, there are, I said right, 9 standard type dimensions and one user defined dimension is there. So these are the mandatory dimension types if you want to create a model. So model is a combination of dimensions, right? In tomorrow's session you will be able to understand. SAP has given totally 10 dimension types, 9 standard and one user defined dimension. So these are the dimension types. In tomorrow's session we'll be discussing. Okay, and yeah, and another thing is, note, it is highly recommended not to do the modifications or changes directly to the environment shell. You will be able to change something in the environment shell, but you are not supposed to do that. But because in future if you want to change the solution, you need to have a standard component with you, because so that you can copy that and you can start customizing as per that business requirement. Okay, this is about BPC core components. Anyone have any questions from these 5 components?
Mahendra,
Yes.
is even time dimension cannot be shared across environments?
Yeah, any dimension will not be able to share across the environments.
Okay. And may know in what scenario we will create multiple environments?
So for training purpose, we'll create for sure. Let's say we created one environment for entire planning for Amazon, and the environment name is Amazon. So while giving training to the business end users, like once we are done with the solution, we'll be delivering it to the business and they start using it, right? So but while giving the training for the end user how to use this tool for their planning, so we may require another environment, because in that we may create so many other customizations we may do, like end users may create so many other input forms and reports for their analysis purpose. So we are not supposed to disturb our solution, right? So while practicing, for practicing we may create another environment. But for one of client, like almost 3 years back, we created one another environment only for journals. If somebody is from finance background, they can easily understand. So journals, like if they want to do any modifications for the actual data, like it is accounting terminology. So for that purpose, we have created another separate environment. But if you have a multiple environments, again we'll have so many challenges, because moving the data between different environments and creating the reports and all will be difficult. So like out of 100 clients, I can say 99.9% of the clients who go with the only single environment. There is no any
Okay.
specific reason to go with the multiple environments. Even SAP suggests a single environment.
Okay. Okay. So you said that if we have multiple environments, we cannot move the data
We can
like
move,
that. You said, right?
we can move the data between environments also, but there we need ABAP again. ABAP is a, like if you want to customize something for application, we need ABAP. So again, it will be cost for business, right? So that's why
Yeah,
even
yeah.
business
More
don't like.
developments.
Yeah, correct. So this
But from
BPC.
developer point of view,
Mhm.
if you see in maybe test scenario is fine, but in real time scenarios,
Hmm.
for an organization from developer point of view, if you have multiple environments, it is more comfort, right? Like suppose we developed one environment
Hmm.
and new requirement came, so I don't want to disturb the
Disturb.
existing environment. So
Yeah.
I don't want to disturb the existing users.
Uh,
So if I create new environment, it will not disturb the existing set of users.
hmm.
So like considering like that, so many times developer what they do that. Uh, they may go for new environment. Is that
No, no,
correct approach or is it
no.
not been?
If you have any different scenario, you can create a different model. So always planning happens at model level in BPC.
Yes, yes, yeah,
If you have a different planning scenario, you can create a different model without disturbing anything other models, existing models in the environment. The only problem is, let's say, if you have a 3, 4 models here. So here in this example, I am showing 3 models, right? So if business want to generate income statement, profit and loss statement. So these are all the income. These are all the expenses, right? Operational expenditures and
yes,
capital
okay,
expenditures. So we'll be creating another model called a finance model, and we'll be moving the data from this model to the finance model, and on top of that they'll be creating balance sheet, profit and loss, I mean net income statement and cash flow statements. But within the same environment, it is easy to move the data between the models. But if it's a different environment, then getting the consolidated balance sheet and profit and loss statement, cash flow statement will be difficult. And for a business also, the maintenance cost will be increased and they need more support from IT. Maintenance cost will be more.
okay, okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, hope everybody was able to understand this core components. And for tomorrow's session, we'll be starting in the system. We'll be creating environment, and then we'll be discussing models and dimensions with examples and like more details here. Okay, so that's all from my end for today's session. Uh, if anyone have any questions, please ask me. Otherwise, I'll close the session and I'll be sharing this recording with you in some time. And
Mahendra, even today, yesterday I told you that initial, my sound is breaking. Even today also, I think first 15 minutes,
hmm,
every that after every 30 seconds, almost 10, 15 seconds, your sound is. I am not able to hear the sound.
hmm,
I am not sure whether it is happening only to me or others also. Even I restarted my system, laptop.
still you're
After
facing
then also,
issue.
yeah.
Okay, okay. So, can anyone please confirm it is the same problem with you also, or is it okay for you people? Srivani, Satish, Devi, Raghav, anyone?
We can hear it properly.
Okay, okay. Hmm. So Naveen, can you try with some other headphones or something like that? Or even Naveen, yesterday after the session over, I replayed that recording session. So in the recording session, it was very clear. So it was like there
Okay,
was.
then yeah, because my internet connection also is very good. I
Uh,
never had any issues. Okay, okay, maybe okay. I will check tomorrow also. I will try to delete
hmm,
some of the if any issue with my laptop.
okay, okay,
It should
okay.
not be okay. Okay, and one more thing, Mahindra. Actually, as I previously said that we already have. I am already. I am. We are already working on BPC.
Oh,
So
super.
in my client, maybe. Uh, uh, some of the developers they create multiple environments actually
Okay, okay.
because considering maybe considering their comfort. because what I said, right? Because they don't want to disturb the existing
No,
user setup
see.
users, and you know, right? We give the access at the environment level, right?
No, not at the environment level. Maybe you will be able to understand once we discuss this security. So always the access will be at a model level. We
Okay.
restrict the
So
business
you mean to
users at
say that
model level.
for one organization, one environment is enough? You mean to say, right?
Yeah, it is more than enough. Even in my current project, it is a very big organization. Even we are around 20 BPC consultants working, and we have 11 models.
Okay, only one environment.
Oh,
Okay.
single environment. The only reason is if you have a multiple environments, maintenance will be more costly, and integration between these environments will be difficult. You need more customizations, and then business need ABAP support also. It is again a cost for business.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. But
Who is
if I
creating
say
the
that
environments you are talking about? Developer means BPC consultants are creating or business users are creating.
BPC consultant,
Okay, so what is the scenario? Why they are going with the multiple environments? How they are going to integrate
yeah,
the data between these multiple environments? That is a big question.
actually, they don't have a requirement to integrate between models like that because
Hmm,
uh, it is like for a specific set of users. So for a specific only one suppose specific set of user like a
hmm,
sales planning, like demand planning.
correct,
So for that one, he doesn't have any other integration with any other area. So
correct. But
they just
finally,
created one environment as a
uh,
demand planning.
see, Naveen, any planning scenario, finally the data will be hitting profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flow. There is no doubt. Even if it is a HR planning, it should hit the data profit and loss, because HR planning means salaries, wages, everything will be calculated, right? Again, it is a cost.
Yes, yes.
It should hit profit and loss statement. So any planning, the final target of a BPC is profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flow statements. But it may be like if they don't want to see HR expenses in profit and loss, that may be the scenario where we don't need to move the data from HR planning to profit and loss model. But again, if you have a different planning scenario, you can create a different model, and you can use a different dimensions. You can create let's say we have account dimension, you can create multiple account dimension, you can use different account dimensions in different models in a single environment.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. That's always possible, right?
That's
Yeah.
always possible, and that is the best thing.
Yeah, yeah. We use like that only. For actually, we do have both planning and consolidation. For
Correct,
planning, we use a different dimension, and for consolidation, we use a different dimension,
correct, correct.
so that there won't be any.
Hmm. But again, like in data, transactional data point of view, there will not be any issues even if you use the same dimensions, because transactional data will be at model level, right? So planning data will not hit the consolidation model data and all. But in some scenarios, we go with different. Even in our session, I'll be using a different dimensions for consolidation.
Okay, okay,
But in some scenarios, we go with the same dimensions. But in consolidation model, we'll be having extra dimensions like group and all. So anyone else have any questions? Okay, hope everybody was able to understand these 5 components, and that's all from my end for today's session. And we'll meet on tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be discussing creation of environment, and then we'll discuss model and model types, and we'll see in the system. So from tomorrow onwards, we are going to start the sessions, practical sessions. Okay, thank you everyone. Have a nice day. See you on tomorrow.
okay. Thanks, Mahendra. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.